The indigenous Western Mono people called it Wahunau, a word formed in imitation of the hoot of the great horned owl, which is the guardian spirit and deity of the great monarch of the forest. Today, we call it Wawona. Hello and welcome back to another edition of the Hiking Journal. In this edition, Dave, Jerry, and I head back out into Yosemite National Park and explore some fascinating locations, not in the highly popular Yosemite Valley floor, but near Wawona in the South Fork of the Merced River. All of this will be coming up in this edition of the Journal. In this first part, we head into Yosemite and check into the Wawona Campground. Here we drop a few supplies at our campsite and place our food and scented items in the provided bear-resistant lockers before heading back out to explore legendary Wawona. Yosemite National Park was created in 1916, and by 1920, campgrounds all along the scenic lakes and the Wawona Tunnel had been completed, making travel into the park easier and faster than ever before. As soon as you enter the park from Fresno along Highway 41, the scenery begins to change from the scraggly oak-filled forest to the magnificent tall sequoias, growing into a dark canopy of shade overhead. Now there's two swinging bridges in Yosemite, and one of them is famous, the one that crosses the mighty Merced River in the Yosemite Valley floor and has a much photographed spectacular view upstream to Yosemite Falls. The other one is the swinging bridge near Wawona and is much smaller. This swinging bridge I always wanted to see, and since it was only a short hike of about 3/4 of a mile, we could knock this one out in no time. We pulled out of the Wawona Campground, made a right, and drove a short distance to the trailhead for the swinging bridge. All right, well, we went to our campsite real quick, checked it out, threw a couple things in the bear locker, and now we're taking a short drive over to the swinging bridge. We're going to park there. It's a short trail. It's only about a little over a half mile each way to the swinging bridge over the Merced River, so it'll be kind of cool. So we're going to take this little short drive. We got time to kill. It's only 11:30. It's still early. All right, well, we're taking a short little hike to see the swinging bridge. It's only a little over a half mile. So it's only about noon, so we get some harsh sun, but it's pretty out here, and it's got a nice cool breeze. Quite a few families here at the trailhead. Ought to be nice. Should be there just a few minutes. Can't beat that, huh? We've only hiked just a short few minutes, maybe 10 minutes at most, and we've already arrived at the swinging bridge. The swinging bridge is behind me over there. We're going to hike over there here in a minute and go check it out. But in the meantime, we're admiring the warm sunshine and that nice cold, refreshing water that's coming down through. We're going to head up to the side trail in a minute and go over there and check it out. It looks pretty cool. Well, behind me is the swinging bridge here near Wawona. In Yosemite National Park. Just a short hike here from the trailhead. It was only 0.6 of a mile. So you can get here in no time. You can enjoy this absolutely spectacular swinging bridge. It's not real far. It's not like the one over Woods Creek and Ray Lakes or anything, but it is interesting. It's a short and easy hike, suitable for families to go to. So if you have the kids and grandma and you want to do a short little hike to get to the swinging bridge over the Merced River, this is the spot to go, man. This is a really nice place. And if you just didn't want a picture of the bridge and you wanted a gorgeous shot upstream, that's behind me here. It's absolutely stunning today. About 75 degrees maybe, and not a cloud in the sky out here in Yosemite. Great spot to be today. After our hike along the river, we made a quick stop to explore the Yosemite Pioneer History Center. Now, the Yosemite Pioneer History Center is also located in Wawona, about 4 miles from the south entrance to Yosemite National Park, and we had passed right by it on the road to the swinging bridge. The site is comprised of a collection of historic buildings from different eras in Yosemite's history, built by industrious men and unique to the Pioneer Yosemite History Center. Each building was constructed to serve its original purpose in different locations around Yosemite, and was eventually moved to Wawona in the late 1950s for its preservation and protection. Walking among them, it's important to keep in mind that each building is historically significant and played an important role in their respective chapter in the story of Yosemite's pioneers. It was still early in the afternoon, so we decided to make a stop and learn just a little bit about the history of Yosemite and the men that built it. The park also assembled a fine collection of horse-drawn vehicles, which were displayed beneath an open shed. Some of the wagons were complete with their harnesses and were in excellent condition, and others were left in disrepair and showed the ravages of time. After exploring the historical center, Jerry noticed a hiking path leading uphill away from the visitor center, and we assumed this was a trail to the magnificent Wawona Hotel. And you know what? Jerry was right. Instead of hopping in the Jeep and driving up the road, we decided to take a short walk up the hill to see the hotel. In 1876, the Washburn brothers moved west into the mountains of California from their home in Vermont and built a 140 by 32-foot hotel building that they referred to as Long White. This was the first of the buildings to be built in what we know now as the Wawona Hotel Complex. The Washburns' new hotel met with great success, and they decided to expand upon its operation by building a toll road, the Wawona Road, into Yosemite Valley. Their formation of the Yosemite Stage and Turnpike Company was made official in 1882. On our visit into Yosemite, the stage drivers had their horses harnessed up, and they were ready to give visitors free rides and tours around the property. Visitor arrivals ranged from a few horse-drawn carriages a day in the beginning to many every day, requiring the use of over 700 horses, and then in 1916, the motor stages began to replace the horse-drawn carriages. In the first years of auto travel, private cars traveling on the stage route took a terrible beating. Huffman's Garage in Wawona and Miami Lodge were kept busy. They would often have to repair cars arriving there from Fresno so they could chug on into the Yosemite Valley. And if they made it back out, the mechanics would often need to fix them again before the trip back home. The Wawona Hotel continues today as one of the oldest mountain resort hotels in California. And the hotel is of local significance because it was constructed on the home site of Galen Clark, one of Yosemite's earliest settlers, who would later be appointed the first official protector or ranger of the Yosemite. We walked around the grounds of the historic hotel, enjoying the fresh pine air and cool breezes that blew past the large front porch today, where guests sat in rocking chairs admiring the view. Groundskeepers tended to flowers and boxes out front, while maintenance workers made last-minute repairs to the pool in anticipation of the busy summer season. Jerry, Dave, and I popped into the lobby to admire the decor, and I stuck my head into the restaurant to take a peek at their menu. A little pricey, but manageable. When we got back to our cars, Jerry looked at his watch. We still got time for the Mariposa Grove for redwoods, and all we're going to do is sit around in the camp anyway. After that long, tedious drive to the park from Southern California, a good stiff hike around the redwoods sounded just like what the doctor ordered, so off we went. Now, Jerry, Dave, and I had been to the Mariposa Grove or redwoods before, but last time we were up this way, it was closed for renovation. Today, it was open. Well, sort of. After we navigated the traffic circle near the park entrance station, I immediately saw the large white and yellow striped traffic gate blocking access to the Mariposa Grove. There, 2 park personnel guarded the entrance, directing vehicles to a parking area downhill and below the Mariposa Grove Visitor Center. Wow, the road to the Grove is closed. They must be running the shuttle. I knew they did this during the busy summer months, but this was before Memorial Day, a little early, I thought. We drove to a large parking lot and walked up the steps to a large informational map of the Grove and green arrows pointing to another dreaded sign. There are no shuttles in the Mariposa Grove. Visitors kind of stood around not really knowing what to do. The Grove was still over 2 miles away. What do we do now? I heard one family say. We walk, Jerry said. Now, back in the old days when my kids were little, we used to drive all the way to the Mariposa Grove trailhead in the Sport Family Truckster. Yeah, there was limited parking, but if your timing was right, you could get a spot just as somebody pulled out. Later on, the shuttle ran you from the parking lot to the Grove, but according to one National Park volunteer I spoke to, the shuttle starts next weekend. Damn, just our luck. Now, Yosemite is famous for its giant sequoia trees, which are estimated to be over 3,000 years old. They can grow to be about 30 feet in diameter, more than 250 feet tall. 4 giant sequoias in the Mariposa Grove are the third longest lived tree species, with the oldest tree in the park being the grizzly giant, located in the Mariposa Grove on the back side. There are approximately 500 mature giant sequoias in this grove, and it's the easiest grove to access for park visitors. Now, Jerry noticed on the map that there was a trail that circumvented the long, boring 2.5-mile walk from the Mariposa Grove Road, and this would take us through the forest to the actual start of the Grove hiking trail. We topped off our water bottles and walked 0.2 of a mile through the parking lot to the forested trail and began heading toward the Mariposa Grove on what they called the Washburn Trail. Well, after we left Wawona, we decided we still got some more time to kill. No sense going back to the camp and just hanging out. So it was only 2 o'clock. So we drove a few miles on the other direction, past Wawona toward the entrance station, and we made a turn. And now we're going to Mariposa Grove of giant redwoods. And in days past, he used to drive all the way to the Grove and park and do a little loop trail. And then they decided it was causing too much damage, so they would do a shuttle. And because of COVID, now the shuttle's closed. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So now you have to park at the tram shuttle parking area and walk 2 miles on a trail just to get to the Grove. And then you got to do the Grove loop. So that's what we're doing today. The Washburn Trail wasn't exactly ADA accessible. We had to climb over a couple of down logs and trees and hiked up some pretty steep sections, obviously a little difficult for some of the folks hiking there today. The afternoon sun was beating down on us, and that didn't really help, and we all quickly grew tired, especially after getting up at 3 in the morning and driving 7 hours to get here. By the time we reached the end of the Washburn Trail, we were spent. Now, Dave decided he wasn't up for another 2.5-mile hike around the Mariposa Grove, and said he'd just lay down on the granite block wall out front and wait for us. Maybe I'll take a nap. And you know what? That's exactly what he did. Now, Jerry and I stood there looking at the map and realized there were basically 2 trails around the main grove of magnificent redwoods. The long Grizzly Giant Trail up around the California Tunnel Tree and the Grizzly Giant Tree before it passed the 3 Bachelors, or the half-mile almost level 88 trail directly to the Grizzly Giant. And of course, we took the long way. All right, well, we're working our way through the Mariposa Grove on the Grizzly Giant Trail. This is one of the unsigned trees. It's pretty damn big. It's probably got what's the circumference on that sucker, Jerry? What do you think?
Circumference?
Yeah.
God, it's got to be 75 feet or
Yeah,
something.
it's got to be pushing 100 feet in diameter. That thing's huge. Or in circumference, yeah, it's big. When Jerry and I arrived back at the Mariposa Grove shuttle stop, Dave was sacked out, lying on the granite wall right where we had left him. After a few minutes resting and using the portable toilets out front, we headed back down the Washburn Trail, another 2.5 miles back to the cars. By the time we reached the cars, we had hiked close to 6 miles to see the Mariposa Grove. And not counting the hike out to the swinging bridge and exploring the Yosemite Visitor Center and the hotel, we somehow had turned this easy day into a 10-mile adventure, surely enough to deserve an ice-cold beer back in camp. It was a short drive from the Mariposa Grove Road to our campsite, and after unloading our remaining gear, we began to set up camp. Dave erected a small one-man Agnes tent on the pad to the left, and I chose to sleep in my old Hennessy Expedition ASIM hammock tonight. I pulled out my heavy ice chest out of the bear locker and popped a cool one. Tonight's camp dinner was something Dave and Jerry had never tasted before, a White Castle slider. About 40 years ago, back when I was in the Army, I was stationed with a guy from Long Island, New York, who ranted and raved about the White Castle hamburgers. When we pulled up at the drive-thru, he ordered me 3 hamburgers. I thought, there's no way I can eat 3 hamburgers. He assured me that I could, as they were much smaller than regular hamburgers. That was my introduction to the White Castle sliders. Not so much really on the hamburger, just a whole pocked piece of meat, grilled onions, and a slice of cheese. It surely wasn't a Big Mac, a Jumbo Jack, or a Whopper, but damn, they were good. Since there weren't any White Castles out here on the West Coast, I decided to make my own. White Castle is an American regional hamburger chain with 377 locations across 13 states. It has been generally credited as the world's first fast food hamburger chain, founded on September 13, 1921. It's known for its square, small hamburgers referred to as sliders. The burgers were initially priced at 5 cents until 1929 and remained at 10 cents until 1949. And on January 14, 2014, Time magazine labeled the White Castle slider as the most influential burger of all time. Who knew? Well, we're in camp, and I'm making some sliders on the Coleman Insta-Start stove. And gonna put some cheese on it here in a minute. Gonna make our own little White Castle hamburgers at our campsite here at Wawona. The creek is right behind us over there. Gorgeous spot. And Dave's got his tent right over there. I'm going to be sleeping in the hammock tonight. And Jerry's going to be in his truck parked right over there. I got to move the Jeep. Now I have to admit the sliders came out pretty good, and I sure didn't have any complaints from Dave and Jerry. After dinner it was starting to cool off quite a bit, so I lit the campfire with some chemicals, glycerin and potassium permanganate. A little of one and a little of the other, and poof, fire. Kind of like Harry Potter. We sat around the campfire listening to the Merced River flowing gently behind our camp until we decided to call it a night. We were all tired from our long drive up and our adventure investigating some of the historical sites in wonderful Wawona. Tomorrow was going to be a big day, our tough 8-mile climb up Chilnewalna Creek to see the cascading waterfalls of Wawona, so we turned in for the night. Jerry in his Tahoe, Dave in his tent, and me in my hammock. Well, that'll do it for this first part of our adventure into Yosemite National Park in Wawona. Tomorrow we'll tackle the 2,400-foot elevation gain in warm temperatures as we head deep into the backcountry to visit one of Yosemite's most beautiful but hidden waterfalls. That'll all be coming up next. Oh, and don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to the channel to get the latest updates as I post them. Oh, and one more thing, lots of people are making the northbound trek along the PCT, and I've been following Julia's adventure vlog since the beginning. She's been posting every day as she travels along the PCT, and it's fascinating seeing all those posts to spots I've never hiked before. Be sure to check out her channel and subscribe. I guarantee you'll like it. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you down the trail in the next episode of the Hiking Journal. Chilnewalna Falls in Yosemite National Park. Take care. Bye-bye.